Hello, I want to show you guys how to divide mixed numbers. So dividing mixed numbers is similar to multiplying mixed numbers and adding mixed numbers and subtracting mixed numbers. So they're all pretty much the same, except with dividing, we're going to have a couple of more steps near the end. And they're pretty straightforward steps. So let me show you how to do this problem. I have a handful of different examples here. So basically step one is we take each term and we try to make the bottom number the same. So I'm going to put a plus sign. To make them the same, we got to do a plus sign, right? And that's for the same with the multiplying mixed numbers, the subtracting mixed numbers, the adding mixed numbers, and the dividing mixed numbers. You got to put that little plus sign in, right? So I did that. Then I'm doing divide because it's telling me to do that right over here. And then I'm going to put a 2 plus sign, 2 over 3. Anytime you're working with a whole number against a fraction, you got to put that little invisible one underneath the whole number, right? So what do? We make sure that these have the same bottom number and these have the same bottom number. So let's see, I'm going to turn that 1 into a 5. I'm going to multiply by 5. Whatever I do downstairs, I gotta do upstairs, right? So, and then on the second term right here, I have to see if I am the same in the bottom. It looks like they're different. I call this the boot and hat method. I have a video on my channel about this. And basically the boot and hats method is when you leave your house, your boots have to be exactly the same. You can't wear 2 different shoes, right? So my shoes are not the same. I have a 1 and a 3, so I got to make them the same. Just like I did earlier with this, I have to make them the same. So I'm going to turn this into a 3, and I'm going to turn this top part into a 3 because whatever I do to the bottom, I gotta do to the top. So what does that give me? What does this whole thing give me? Okay, well, it gives me 15 over 5 plus 3 over 5. Okay, we're not going to reduce right now, right? We're just writing down what we see. I'm going to bring down that division right here. And then I'm going to bring this whole entire thing down. And what does it give me? Well, 2 times 3 gives me 6 over 3 plus 2 times 3, right? So my bottom numbers are the same, right, for each term I had. I got my 5s and then I got my 3s. Okay, cool. So what do I do next? Well, I add them together. I add these together. I add these together. That's like a bad circle. I'm doing a really bad job with circles today. Here, let's do another one where we can see what we're doing. Okay, cool. So I have 15. That gives me 18. 15 plus 3 gives me 18 over 5 divided by 8 over 3, right? So that's those are my new terms, right? I went from this to this. So I'm going to go ahead and take a look. Let's see. These are called improper fractions. Anytime the number at the top is bigger than the number at the bottom, it's called an improper fraction. If the number at the top is smaller than the bottom one, that's called a proper fraction. Both of these are improper. Okay, so anytime you're dividing a fraction against a fraction, you're going to do the reciprocal, meaning you take the first fraction, you leave it exactly as it is. You don't mess with it at all. Then you times it, and you do 3 times 8. You just flip it, right? I use this symbol to help me know that I got to do that. So you take the first one, and then you flip the second one, and you multiply, and it's totally easier. Now you just multiply across. That's all, right? So 18 times 3 gives me 54. I'm moving down to the next line because I'm running out of room. And 5 times 8 gives me 40. Right? So here's the thing. This could technically be the answer, right? It's improper. Improper fraction. But the thing is, I can simplify this. There's even numbers, like 4 and 0, those are even. So it reduces down to 27 over 20. That's still improper. By the way, this is also technically correct answer. I mean, this is technically right. You know, this could technically be a totally chill answer to put on your homework. But here's the thing. If we have mixed numbers, they usually want it back in a mixed number. So I got to turn this improper fraction into a mixed number. How do I do that? It's totally easy. I'm going to show you how to do it. You're going to do long division. So you're going to put the bottom number, that's called the denominator, the bottom number on the outside, and you're going to put the numerator on the inside, right? Think of like this as a little house. The 27 is inside the house. The denominator, that's the bottom number. It starts with the letter D for denominator. Think of it like a dog, like the dog lives outside. Or like think about like remember the Flintstones, that cartoon? And in the bottom, like not at the bottom, at the end of the theme song, they put the saber-toothed tiger looking thing outside. Okay, that was like basically their pet dog. So that's like dinosaur, right? Was it a dinosaur that they put outside, or was it a saber-tooth? Anyways, they put that thing outside. I think it was a cat they brought. Anyways, yeah. It's a dog or a dinosaur like from the Flintstones. That lives outside. D for dog, D for dinosaur. It lives outside of the house. The numerator, the top part, lives inside the house. So that's a good way of remembering it because, you know, when you're taking a quiz or test, there's a likelihood you're going to flip it, you know, just because like nervousness. So, okay, we have this set up. So how many times does 20 go into 27? It goes in one time. 1 times 20 is 20. Our remainder is 7, right? So our final answer is going to be in this little math problem we just did. And it's going to be our answer, which is 1. Our remainder goes on top of the numerator. And our denominator, which is the bottom number, is always going to be the same. Do you see how it's the same right here for improper fraction? It's the same thing. So this is the final answer if they're asking you to make it back into a mixed number. But all 3 of these in the box are correct, but you know, this is really what they're looking for. Let's see. Let's do another example. Cool. So I have this one. This one's pretty good because it has like a whole number or like a mixed number right here, and then it has a proper fraction. Proper fraction right here, and this one is mixed number, right? So we have 2 different guys hanging out together. So we're going to try to combine it. So let's go ahead and do that. So step 1 is you take one term and then you take the second term and you have to do that plus sign thing because we have to make sure the bottom parts are the same. So this is a good problem. So let's go ahead and do that little plus sign, and we have 1 over 2. We have a division, and I don't have a whole number, but I do have that 3 over 4. So let's go ahead and do this. Perfect. And of course, anytime you have a whole number against a fraction, you got to put that little invisible 1 there. So let's see. I have to apply my boots and hat method again because 1 and 2 are not the same, right? So let's go ahead and, what was it? It was 3 over 1. Great. So let's put a 2 here, and let's put a 2 upstairs because whatever you do downstairs, you gotta do upstairs. What about this? What do I do here? Well, there's no whole number. I don't have to put anything here. I don't got to do anything. I don't have to do a 1 or a 2 or a 7. There's no invisible understood number. So I can just keep it as is. I don't have to mess with that second term right now. So what does it give me? It gives me 2 times 3 is 6 over 2 plus half divided by, right? I got it right here. Divided by 3 over 4. What does that give me? Well, 6 plus 1 is 7 over 2 divided by 3 over 4, right? So I went from this combination of mixed numbers and proper fractions to these different numbers here. So now I have an improper here and I have a proper here. So what do I do now? I have that division sign. What do I do? Because I have to make sure it looks like a mixed number. Well, we do that reciprocal thing, right? That little r. How do we do that? You keep the first guy exactly as it is. You don't mess with him. Do a times, and then you flip the other one. You flip the second term. Just flip it on its head, right? And then we just multiply across. Right here. So 7 times 4 gives me 28. 2 times 3 gives me 6. right? Now, this is technically the answer, right? I mean, this is technically correct, right? It's an improper fraction, but we can also simplify it. So if we simplify it, it's going to be 14 divided by 3. This is also correct, right? These are improper fractions. If they're just saying, give me the answer, those are cool to go. One is the actual answer, then one is a simplified version of the answer. But if it's asking for mixed numbers, then we got to take the smallest one we just did, and we got to do our long division, which was the denominator on the outside, or the dog outside, and then inside the house is the numerator. How many times does 3 go into 14? It goes in 4 times. 3 times 4 is 12. Okay, 14 minus 12 is 2. That's my remainder. So the final answer is the answer at the very top, then it's my remainder, which is 2, and then it's my denominator I originally had. It's always going to be the same as this because I'm actually using this whole thing and moving it to the front. So I'm always going to have the exact same denominator, even if it's improper, even if it's a mixed number. Right? So this is the final answer, right? If it was asking me for mixed number. Let's do another one. Okay, perfect. Here's a really good one. So let's see. What do I do? What is my first thing I do? Well, we're going to do that plus sign thing. I'm going to do a 1 plus sign 1 over 6 divided by 4 plus 1 over 2. And I have to do an invisible 1 underneath because anytime you have a whole number against a fraction, you got to put that little invisible 1 in the bottom. Great. Now what do? I have to do the boots and hat method. I have to make sure my shoes are the same. I'm looking over here and I'm looking over here. My shoes are not the same. So I have to build 2 sets of shoes. So I'm looking in my closet and I decided I'm going to use a 6. I got the 6 from here because it's just easy to replicate that shoe as opposed to the other one. It's easier to add on than take away. Whatever I do downstairs, I have to do upstairs. Same thing here. I'm going to do a 2. And whatever I do downstairs, I got to do upstairs. So what does that give me? It gives me a 6. I think I should do this down here. It gives me a 6 over 6 plus 1 over 6 divided by 8 over 2 plus 1 over 2. Right? Great. And resist the urge to start reducing, because I know, you're seeing these things on here and you're like, well, I could just cut that 8, and I can cut that 1 and I can make it a whole number. It wouldn't benefit you to do that right now. You want to hold off on that. Right, so we're going to go ahead and set all this up. I'm going to add these together and I'm going to add these together. So 6 plus 1 is 7, and my shoe was a 6. I have a division symbol. And then 8 plus 1 is 9, and my shoe was a 2. Great, I'm almost done. What do I do next? I have a division symbol. I have 2 fractions and I got a division symbol. We're going to take its reciprocal thing, right? We're going to do that. Our reciprocal, let's do that symbol, times 2 over 9. What is 7 times 2? What does that give me? It gives me 14. And then what is 6 times 9? If you know the finger method, that is going to be 54. That's when you take your hands and then you count to 6, and then you just see how many are on the left side of the finger you put down and how many are on the right side. You can Google it. It's very common. So you don't even have to count very high. Great. So I have 54. This is the answer. I can reduce it. It's going to be 7 over 27. This is also the answer. Here's the thing. If you look at this, you're going to see that the top number, like we mentioned earlier, is small. So that means it's a proper fraction. It's not improper. It is proper with a P. Improper is if it was 108 over 3, or 18 over 17. maybe like 22 over 11. Well, let's do 19. Do you see how the top number is big every single time? This is called an improper fraction. And to be in the improper fraction club, you just have to have a big head, tiny legs. Proper fraction, you have a normal size head and you got a normal size big old feet. That's how that works. That's how you get into the proper fraction club. So this is tiny head, big feet, proper fraction club. When you're in the proper fraction club, you don't have to have mixed numbers. You don't need to go into the thing where you have like a whole number here and then a fraction here. This is not necessary. This is quite literally the final answer, and you're straight up done with this question. You don't have to keep doing more stuff to it. This is why I like this problem. If you have a proper fraction, you don't need to do the long division step to get a mixed number. You're straight up done. We can move on to the next one. Okay, this is a good one too. Okay, let's go ahead and start this one. So we have to remember the rules, okay? So what am I going to do? I'm going to take the first term. I'm going to do a 5 plus sign because we got to do a plus sign. 5 and 4, division, and then 2 plus half. Keep in mind we have a negative here, okay? So we're going to put this whole thing like that. What do I do? What's my next step? Well, I got to make sure that if I have a whole number, it has to have that invisible one underneath. Then after that, I got to check my shoes. My shoes are not the same, so let's go ahead and adjust that. I'm going to put a 5 in the bottom, and whatever I do to the top, I gotta do to the top. I think I meant to say bottom. Whatever I do to the bottom, I have to do to the top. Same as here. Whatever I do to the bottom, I gotta do to the top. Let's see. What do I end up with? Well, I end up with... Where am I? Let's do over here. Oh, that's too high. Let's do it a little bit here. 25. I end up with the 25 over 5 plus 4 over 5. And then I do the division sign. And then I have a 4 over 2. And then I have a 1 over 2. Now, here's the thing. I have to remember that there's that negative sign. I got to remember that. We have to keep that here. Now, this is the part we have to remember. I'm going to add all of this, okay? What I'm doing is I'm doing a negative sign and then 25 plus 4. What I'm not doing is negative 25 plus 4. That's going to give me two different answers. So with this mixed number stuff, you have to make sure that you're keeping track of the negative sign throughout the problem. It's not really going to do much in interacting with the numbers. So this top one, 25 plus 4 is 29. Wait, let me fix that. It's 29. But this second one here without the parentheses, it's actually negative 21. So we don't want that one. We want this one. So it becomes 29 over 5 because my shoe was a 5. My boot was a 5. This is not going to be 21. It's going to be 29. So then we do the division sign, and then 4 plus 1 is 5. My shoe is a 2. Do you see how if I had a 21, things would start looking different mathematically? Great. So now my next step is we flip the second guy. So what I'm going to have is negative 29 over 5 times 2 over 5. I'm going to multiply all this together, right? Negative 29 times 2 is negative 58. 5 times 5 is 25. Great. This is improper fraction. I don't believe I can reduce it any further. So this is technically the right answer. Make sure you got that negative in there. This is right. But we need to convert it into a mixed number. How do I do that? Long division. So we're just going to put that negative outside. This is going to feel kind of weird. We're going to put that 25, remember the denominator, the bottom number, doggy outside, Flintstone style. Cool. Numerator inside the house, doggy outside. Negative still there. So how many times does 25 go into 58? It goes in twice. And then it gives me a 50, and my remainder is an 8. So what's the final answer? It's the answer on the top. Then it's the remainder. And then it's the denominator that's always the same as the improper. Plus that negative. We still got to bring that negative in. We got to bring it in. This is the final answer. This is correct. This is also correct. Both are chill. It just depends on what the question is asking. Let's do one more problem and then we're good. Okay, this is a really good one because they're both negative and that's going to come into play. So what do? We make sure we keep the negative, and then step 1 is I put that little plus sign in between the whole number and the fraction for each single term, right? This is a term. This is a term. Do the division. Do the little -3. Plus sign 1/3. And anytime I have a whole number against a fraction, I got to put that little -1. I mean, not the negative one, the invisible one in the bottom. Let's see. Now what do? Well, I got to take a look at my shoes. Are my boots the same? I can't leave my house with mismatched boots. So what do? I'm going to put a little 5 here. And then whatever I do to the bottom, I gotta do to the top, I mean, it's necessary. And then I'm going to do the same thing here for this second term. Whatever I do to the bottom, I gotta do to the top. What does it give me? It gives me a 15/5 plus 1/5 divided by -9/3 plus 1/3. Then I gotta make sure that I'm putting these together. And then remember, we have to do the negative sign, and we're doing 15 plus 1, which is 16/5, right? We did 15 plus 1. We did not do -15 plus 1. That's going to give us 2 different answers, right? So this is 16. This is going to be 14. So that's why we got to make sure that we are mindful of our parentheses. Divided by negative. We're not doing negative. Let me see, -9. Let me do that one even, right? So that's a 10. But if you did -9 plus 1, it would be an 8. Do you see how we don't want this one and we don't want this one? Negative, and then a 10, and then a 3, right? Those are my shoes. My shoes are 5 and 3. Awesome. What do I do next? I got my division sign. I have one part for each term. Let's see. I'm looking at both of my terms, and they look like improper fractions. I'm going to do the reciprocal. I'll do that little R thing, which is I'm going to take that first term and leave it alone, and then I'm going to do a multiplication, and I'm going to flip the second term, -3, 10. So what does that give me? Well, let's see. -16 times -3 gives me a positive number at the top, which is 48. And then the 5 times 10 gives me a 50. See how we took those two negatives become positive? So at this point, when we multiply, we're eligible to start using the signs into the numbers now. So this is why I wanted to do a problem like this with 2 negative signs, and then the previous one had 1 negative sign, because you can see the difference. So let's see. Let's go ahead and take a look. This is the correct answer. but we can reduce it, right? How the 8 and the 0, those are even, so we can reduce. We're eligible to do that. So what does it simplify to? 25 over, no, it's not 25. I did the wrong math. It's 24. It's 24 over 25. That is also correct. If I'm looking at it very closely, I'm seeing that the top number is actually small. So it's small head, big feet. And that means they're in the proper fraction club. If you're in the proper fraction club and you're doing mixed numbers, you're good to go. You don't got to do anything else. It's chill. I mean, we're done. We don't have to do that long division step. If you see a proper fraction with mixed numbers, you're literally straight up done with that problem. So, and if it's improper, where the top number is big, you got to do that long division step. Okay, I think that's all the problems I have. I hope this video helped. I do have stickers in my sticker shop. I did some sales if you want to take a look at the sales. Okay, thank you everybody. Goodbye.